Question 1. Given the circumstances, a commercial bakery suffered a fire that generated heavy protein-based smoke. The HVACR system remained operational during the fire. Mr. Delgado, the restoration technician, is evaluating the HVAC system for restoration. Which of the following should be Mr. Delgado's primary concern when assessing the impact of this specific type of smoke? A. The risk of microbial growth from moisture in ducts. B. The acidic nature of protein smoke leading to internal system corrosion. C. The presence of dry soot deposits within the blower housing. D. The likelihood of circuit board damage from high voltage spikes. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Protein smoke, commonly produced from slow, smouldering fires like those in kitchens, is nearly invisible but leaves a sticky, odorous residue that adheres tightly to surfaces. Its acidic composition is particularly corrosive to metallic components inside HVACR systems, including coils, ductwork, and blower wheels. Immediate attention is required to prevent long-term damage. This concern is emphasized in the HRConquer and in FPA 9 both of which advise assessing corrosive residues post-fire. Dry soot, C. Microbial growth, A. And electrical spikes, D. May occur, but they are less critical in the context of protein smoke. Question 2. In light of recent developments, fire restoration professionals are advised to verify duct pressure balance during post-fire system evaluations. Why is ensuring balanced airflow especially critical in fire restoration scenarios? A. Helps reduce vibration noise in the ducts. B. It prevents cross-contamination between affected and unaffected zones. C. It increases refrigerant efficiency in cooling coils. D. It allows rapid dehumidification of the air. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Balanced airflow is crucial to prevent smoke, soot, and airborne contaminants from being redistributed from affected areas to clean zones via pressure differentials. Unbalanced duct pressure can create negative or positive zones that encourage contaminant migration. ASHRAE Standard 62.1 and HRConquer stress airflow containment during restoration, often recommending pressure monitoring and isolation zones using negative air machines and HEPA filtration. Options A, C, and D relate to performance but don't address contamination risk mitigation post-fire. Question 3. When faced with the need to remove an HVACR component exposed to high-voltage wiring after the fire, Patel prepares to implement a lockout-to-LOTO procedure. What step must she complete before beginning any disconnection or disassembly work? A. Verify moisture levels are below acceptable limits. B. Label each wire for reconnection clarity. C. Confirm energy isolation and test for zero energy state. D. Wear a full-face respirator rated for particulate exposure. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The OSHA 29 CFR 1910.147 lockout standard mandates that after isolating the energy source, the technician must verify the absence of residual energy to ensure safety. This is especially important in post-fire environments where damage may have compromised insulation or grounding. Although PPE, D, and labeling, B, are advisable and moisture A is for long-term equipment health, ensuring a verified zero energy state is essential to prevent fatal shocks or arc flash injuries. Question 4. By evaluating the soot-affected coils of a multi-zone rooftop unit, Mr. Briggs determines that chemical cleaning is necessary. What must be the technician's top consideration before selecting coil cleaning chemical? A. Its ability to foam and expand into the fins. B. Its pH level and compatibility with core materials. C. The availability of pressure washing tools. D. Whether the odor is pleasant for occupants. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Chemical cleaners used on HVAC coils must match the material composition to prevent corrosion. Aluminum and copper coils are especially susceptible to damage from acid or caustic cleaners. HEPA guidelines and HRConquer restoration procedures recommend using pH-neutral or manufacturer-approved solutions. Foam expansion may aid in penetration, but if the cleaner damages the coils, it compromises system performance. Odor, D, and tool availability, C, are secondary. Question 5. Throughout the course of post-fire restoration at a public school, Mrs. Simmons uses ozone treatment to neutralize persistent odors. However, she is instructed to vacate the building during application. What is the primary reason for this requirement? A. Ozone interferes with the operation of digital thermostats. B. Ozone can bond with drywall and weaken structural integrity. C. Ozone is a lung irritant and poses a health risk to occupants. D. Ozone might reduce the lifespan of HEPA filters. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. According to EPA guidelines and NIOSH standards, ozone is a powerful oxidizer that can irritate the lungs, eyes, and throat, especially in high concentrations. The area being treated must be vacated and sealed to prevent health hazards. Ozone should never be used in occupied spaces. Structural damage. B. Digital interference. A. And filter effects. D. Are either incorrect or insignificant compared to the health risk. Question 6. From the perspective of accurate fire damage assessment, Istihon uses a thermal imaging camera to inspect behind walls. What does this tool allow him to detect that is often missed during visual inspections? A. Presence of asbestos materials. B. Hidden microbial colonies. C. Variations in surface temperatures indicating moisture intrusion. D. Chemical residue from fire suppressants. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Thermal imaging detects temperature differentials that reveal hidden moisture intrusion, often due to fire suppression efforts or broken pipes. The HRConquer recommends thermal imaging as a non-invasive moisture detection method. While it does not directly detect mold, B, or chemicals, D, it helps locate conditions that could lead to microbial growth. Asbestos, A, requires lab testing, not infrared cameras. Question 7. Among the various actions taken after a restoration job is Ortega recommends upgrading the client's HVAC filter. Why is it advisable to install a higher MERV rated filter post-restoration? A. To reduce energy usage during future cooling seasons. B. To enhance capture of submicron subparticles. C. To comply with OSHA refrigerant handling protocols. D. To block UV radiation from reactivating smoke odor. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. MERV-rated filters' minimum efficiency reporting value measure a filter's ability to capture particles of varying sizes. Post-fire environments often contain fine particulate matter like soot. Upgrading to a MERV 13 Plus filter helps capture these pollutants and improve indoor air quality as outlined by ASHRAE 52.2 and EPA post-disaster air quality guidelines. Energy use. A. OSHA refrigerant rules C and UV D are not relevant in this context. Question 8. To better understand the post-fire risk in a commercial HVAC system, Mr. Lewis must inspect ductwork located in a crawl space. Which action is mandatory before entering this confined space? A. Ensure two-way radio communication is established. B. Submit a chemical hazard inventory to OSHA. C. Request the fire marshal's final incident report. D. Deploy a fogging deodorizer in advance. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. According to OSHA 29 CFR 1910.146, confined space entry requires a full safety plan including continuous communication, atmospheric testing, and a trained attendant. Two-way radios or other communication methods ensure quick response if the technician is overcome or injured. The fire report, C, chemical inventories, B, and fogging, D, are unrelated to safety protocols. Question 9. While examining a heat pump system after a structure fire, ISTA10 notes that the unit trips the breaker immediately on startup. Visual inspection reveals no damage to wiring. What is the most probable fire-related cause? A. Burnt insulation allowing for ground fault arcing. B. Low refrigerant charge causing compressor lockout. C. Soot accumulation in the return grill. D. Thermostat short cycling due to heat exposure. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Fire-related heat often degrades wire insulation, leading to shorts or ground faults when the system energizes. Breaker trips at startup often indicate electrical faults. NEC 2023, NFPA 70, and HVACR diagnostics literature support thorough insulation inspection post-fire. Low charge. B, and C, don't trip breakers. Thermostat cycling. D, could be symptom, but not the. Question 10. The central argument for professionalism in HVAC fire restoration is not only technical competence but also client communication. What action best reflects ethical and professional behavior during a contentious claims situation? A. Insisting the insurance adjuster accept your quote. B. Adjusting your findings to align with client expectations. C. Documenting observations and findings with full transparency. D. Refraining from suggesting system replacement to avoid conflict. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The ICHA Code of Ethics and HEPA Restoration Ethics Guidelines require objective, well-documented reporting of all findings, even when inconvenient for the client or insurer. Restoration professionals must avoid misrepresentation, or coercion, and always base decisions on actual system conditions, not fear of conflict. Honesty builds long-term trust and reduces liability. Question 11. The most significant aspect of decontaminating HVAC systems after a fire involving sewage backup is the presence of biological hazards. Technician Nguyen is assigned to clean the duct system where black water contamination has occurred. Which action is most appropriate before returning the system to service? A. Running the HVAC system at full speed to dry out components. B. Applying a commercial-grade deodorizer and replacing filters. C. Conducting a final verification of sanitization using surface sampling. D. Sealing return registers to prevent recirculation. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Sewage-contaminated HVAC systems fall under Category 3, black water in ICHACS, which requires not just cleaning but verification of decontamination through environmental sampling or surface app tests. Simply replacing filters or deodorizing. B. Doesn't ensure biological safety. Running the system could aerosolize contaminants. Sealing registers. D. Is temporary and does not validate cleanliness. Verification ensures safe occupancy post-restoration. Question 12. With the advent of advanced refrigerants and fire-damaged compressors, technician is Castillo evaluates a rooftop unit with signs of electrical fire and burnt oil residue inside the compressor shell. What is the most critical step before charging the system with new refrigerant? A. Performing acid test on the recovered refrigerant. B. Ensuring evacuation pressure reaches below 500 microns. C. Confirming evaporator temperature matches superheat settings. D. Adding UV dye to trace remaining leaks. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Following a fire that involved the refrigeration circuit, deep evacuation to below 500 microns is vital to remove moisture, acid, and non-condensables before introducing new refrigerant. This practice is consistent with ASHRAE guidelines and EPA Section 608 best practices. Acid testing is useful, but not sufficient alone. Superheat checks. C. Come after system operation. UVD is not necessary once all repairs are verified. Question 13. Taking into account that HVAC ductwork in a fire-affected home was also exposed to high humidity during firefighting, Mr. Wallace is tasked with preventing microbial growth. Which proactive measure will most effectively prevent microbial development? A. Deodorize ductwork using ozone gas. B. Spray ducts with antimicrobial and dry within 24 hours. C. Increase airflow velocity to reduce condensation. D. Replace all flex ducts with metal ducts. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. ICHACS and EPA mold remediation guidelines recommend cleaning, applying antimicrobials, and ensuring drying within 24-48 hours to prevent fungal colonization. Ozone A is not effective against spores and can harm surfaces. Airflow C doesn't address existing moisture. Duct replacement D may be warranted in extreme cases but is not preventive in itself. Timely antimicrobial treatment is key to prevention. Question 14. By comparing two fire restoration sites, technician Mr. O'Connor notices one system as visibly warped plastic blower blades while the other shows no such deformation. What is the most likely cause of the deformation in the first system? A. Soot accumulation, increasing load on the motor. B. High ambient heat causing material distortion. C. Electrical surge overheating the motor windings. D. Combustion gases weakening fasteners. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Plastic components such as blower blades are highly susceptible to heat deformation when exposed to elevated temperatures. Even if they don't directly ignite, the heat can cause warping without electrical fault or combustion. NFPA 9-tier and ASHRAE equipment inspection guides recommend replacing such compromised components to avoid imbalance or vibration. Sautéing combustion gases. D. Affect cleanliness and corrosion, not warping. Motor overheating. C. Damages internal windings, not blades. Question 15. In response to a fire-damaged underground air handler in a hospital basement, technician is Franca must enter a small access chamber. What qualifies this area as a confined space under OSHA rules? A. It contains less than 200 square feet of space. B. It has limited entry-exit and potential for hazardous atmosphere. C. The air handler requires special tools for access. D. There are fewer than 3 workers present. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Per OSHA 29 CFR 1910.146, a confined space is one not designed for continuous occupancy, has restricted entry-exit, and may present atmospheric or other hazards. Making option B correct. Square footage A and personnel count D are irrelevant. Tool C. Affect task complexity, not classification. Such spaces demand air monitoring, permits, and Reddit. Question 16. To illustrate this point, Mr. Boone is restoring an HVAC system after a moderate fire in an office. The evaporator coil is coated with sticky soot and appears to be restricting airflow. What is the best practice for cleaning the coil in this scenario? A. Use compressed air to blow soot out of the fins. B. Replace the coil entirely due to potential damage. C. Apply a foaming coil, clean air, and rinse with low-pressure water. D. Allow natural condensation to wash the coil gradually. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Soot is adhesive and can clog coils, affecting performance and IAC. The HRConquer and NACA standards support the use of non-acidic foaming cleaners, followed by a gentle rinse to preserve coil integrity and restore airflow. A. May blow particles deeper. Replacement. B. May be excessive unless corrosion or severe warping exists, relying on condensation. D. Is ineffective for soot-laden coils. Question 17. The conventional wisdom about post-fire assessments is that restoration technicians should begin cleaning as soon as possible. However, Mr. Aziz insists on documenting the entire site before starting. Why is this the correct approach? A. Insurers may deny claims without visual evidence of original damage. B. It provides content owners a chance to retrieve salvageable items. C. Early documentation is required under HRConquer to establish scope. D. Photographs are needed to train new technicians. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The HRConquer standard mandates that restoration technicians conduct and document the full scope of damage before any mitigation begins. This establishes baseline conditions and supports transparency in insurance claims. While insurance and owner concerns A, B are valid, the standard-driven reason C is paramount. Training D is not relevant to immediate restoration steps. Question 18. Contrary to popular belief, using only negative air pressure during duct cleaning may not effectively remove fire-related contaminants. Technician Mr. Phelps is restoring a fire-affected high-rise HVAC system. What combination method should he use for best results? A. High-pressure water jetting with fogging. B. Rotary brushing combined with negative air machines. C. Manual vacuuming through access panels. D. Electrostatic spraying with UV disinfection. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Rotary brushing, which physically agitates duct surfaces paired with negative air machines, ensures effective removal of soot and debris. NACA, ACA standard and HRConquer recommendations emphasize this combo for post-fire cleaning. Water jetting A. Risks water damage. Manual vacuuming C. Lacks reach. Electrostatic methods D. Are supplementary and not sufficient for physical removal of soot buildup. Question 19. Despite the fact that the HVACR system in a fire-affected facility appears intact, Mr. Kwan discovers the main electrical disconnect is warm to the touch. What is the most probable cause and necessary response? A. Dust accumulation on the lugs causing resistance. Clean immediately. B. Hidden arcing or damage from the fire. Energize and inspect. C. Power surge from restarting units or replace breakers. D. Ambient temperature affecting all components equally. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Heat at the disconnect may signal internal arcing or compromised connections, which can result from fire-related heat exposure. According to NFPA 70 NEC and OSHA electrical safety rules, such anomalies require immediate denergization and inspection to prevent electrical fire or shock. Dust state might contribute, but should not be hot. Power surges. C. Would trip protection. Ambient heat. D. Doesn't cause localized warmth. Question 20. One might argue that adjusting service documentation to match insurance expectations is acceptable if the actual work was performed. Technician Ismorno refuses to alter her report. Why is this response correct? A. Reports are subject to peer review by industry auditors. B. Altering reports violates EPA and ICISC ethical guidelines. C. Adjusters often prefer handwritten documentation. D. Digital records are automatically corrected. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. ECHA Code of Ethics and EPA Restoration Guidelines strictly prohibit any falsification or manipulation of service records. Ismorno's refusal protects both her legal standing and the integrity of the industry. Misrepresentation can result in license suspension, fines, and loss of credibility. Options A, C, and D are incorrect or irrelevant. Transparency and accuracy are critical in post-fire restoration documentation. Question 21. Through careful analysis of a residential fire, Mr. Jefferson discovers fine dry soot within a variable air volume valve system. He must select the most appropriate cleaning method. Which technique is most effective for this type of contamination? A. Low pressure steam cleaning to melt deposits. B. HEPA vacuuming followed by chemical wipe down. C. Use of negative air with activated carbon filters. D. Pressurized air sweeping without collection systems. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Dry soot is best removed through HEPA vacuuming, which captures fine particles without dispersing them, followed by a wet chemical wipe down to neutralize residue. This method is supported by the ICISC and ACA standard. Pressurized air. D. Risks aerosolizing particles. Steam air can damage sensitive components. Negative air. C. Aids in containment but is not a cleaning method on its own. Question 22. In what ways can fire-damaged HVAC systems contribute to poor indoor air quality, even after visible restoration work is completed? A. Residual insulation debris emits electromagnetic interference. B. Hidden soot deposits can continue off-gassing VOCs. C. Heat-damaged dampers can create low-pressure zones. D. Overventilation of clean zones introduces ozone. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Soot and smoke residues contain volatile organic compounds VOCs that can off-gas long after fire events, especially when embedded in insulation or duct liners. This issue is highlighted in HRConquer guidelines and EPA post-fire air quality advisories. The other choices are incorrect. A is unrelated to IAC. C affects pressure but not air quality directly, and D misrepresents ozone's origin. Question 23. Upon closer examination, Reed is assigned to clean a fire-affected attic air handler contaminated with soot and potential rodent waste. What PPE should she wear to meet OSHA and ICISC safety standards? A. Tyvek suit, full-face respirator with P filter, gloves, and goggles. B. Safety glasses, nitrile gloves, and cloth coveralls. C. Open face shield with HEPA filter mask and sandals. D. Cotton shirt, utility vest, and dust mask. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Cleaning areas with particulate and biohazard exposure. E.g. soot, animal waste requires full body PPE as per OSHA 20I and CFR 1910 and ICISC. A Tyvek suit protects the body. Prated respirators filter particulates. Gloves and goggles prevent dermal and ocular exposure. Options B-D lack full protection or proper respiratory gear. Question 24. As demonstrated by post-fire HVAC assessments, insulation inside ductwork is often a hidden source of persistent odors. Mr. Carter must decide on the proper course of action for scorched but structurally intact insulation. What should he do? A. Apply odor counteractant spray and seal with duct liner coating. B. Remove and replace the insulation to prevent long-term odor release. C. Wrap insulation in vapor barrier tape to contain contaminants. D. Increase airflow velocity to dry out absorbed odor molecules. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. According to HRConquer, an NFPA 9-tier insulation that has absorbed smoke or fire residues, even if physically intact, should be removed and replaced to eliminate ongoing HVAC risks. Sealing A may trap odors. Tape C is not valid containment method. Airflow D doesn't neutralize VOx embedded in insulation fibers. Question 25. In comparison with localized fires, whole structure fires affect HVACR systems differently. Ista Silva evaluates a central system in a two-story house where smoke migrated from the basement. What aspect of the HVAC system is most susceptible to hidden smoke contamination? A. Outside condenser fins exposed to ambient air. B. Thermostat casing in sensors. C. Return ducts and filter housings. D. Roof-mounted exhaust hoods. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Smoke naturally travels to low-pressure return ducts, depositing around filters, housings, and dampers. These areas can become odor reservoirs if not properly cleaned. ASHRAE fundamentals and NADCA protocols recommend dismantling and inspecting return side components. Condensers A. Are rarely smoke affected. Thermostats B. May be heat damaged but less critical. Exhaust hoods D. Are vent points, not accumulation zones. Question 26. Examining the consequences of improper documentation, technician Ista Alvarez finds that a previous team failed to photograph duct damage before cleaning. What legal or procedural issue could this omission cause? A. Delays in OSHA safety certification. B. Inability to verify insurance claim scope. C. Violations of refrigerant handling regulations. D. Difficulty in applying UV light cleaning methods. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Per HRConquer and industry standard best practices, pre-cleaning documentation is essential for claim validation, scope agreements, and client transparency. Without photos, insurers may dispute the severity or deny reimbursement. OSHA and refrigerants C are unrelated here. UV application D is a procedural issue, not legal. Question 27. From a practical standpoint, a ductless mini-split unit experiences erratic operation after a nearby electrical fire. Ista Singh suspects a control failure. What component is most likely damaged in this situation? A. Condensate pump. B. Thermistor sensor. C. Reversing valve. D. Outdoor fan blade. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Thermistors, which sense temperature, are sensitive to heat and smoke residues and often fail after electrical fires. This causes erratic system behavior or shutdown. Service manuals and HVAC diagnostic procedures emphasize sensor integrity in fire diagnostics. Pumps A and valves C may fail, but symptoms differ. The fan blade D is mechanical, not control related. Question 20. To determine whether a control board is safe to reuse after fire exposure, is Fletcher performs a close inspection. What sign most reliably indicates electrical damage due to fire? A. Corrosion on terminals and brown discoloration on soldered joints. B. Slight warping of the circuit board near the fuse. C. Lack of visible arc marks or soot trails. D. Clean relays and intact wire insulation. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Corrosion and discoloration, especially near soldered joints and terminals, suggest heat damage or acidic exposure, both of which degrade performance. According to NFPA 70 NEC and manufacturer recommendations, such boards must be replaced. Warping B is less conclusive. C and D suggest the board may be unaffected, but subtle corrosion is a clear sign of failure risk. Question 29. To better understand why some odor persists despite deodorization, Mr. Brooks inspects the recently treated HVAC system. He finds all ducts clean, yet the odor returns when the fan runs. What is the most probable source? A. Moisture evaporating from wet insulation. B. Partially melted plastic components in the air handler. C. Mold growth inside the evaporator coil. D. Fan motor lubrication or breakdown. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Fire heat can partially melt plastics, creating lingering odors that reactivate with airflow. These are often overlooked in visual inspections but continue emitting VOx. EPA guidelines note that melted components can act as odorants for weeks. Moisture and mold C may cause odor but differ in character. Oil D breakdown is rare and subtle. Question 30. The prevailing attitude toward replacing versus restoring HVACR components is shifting, is Landers evaluates. A fire-exposed system with mild damage to the air handler but no structural or electrical faults. What is the most cost-effective and technically sound approach? A. Replace the entire system to eliminate liability. B. Isolate affected components and clean per HVACR protocols. C. Clean visible soot and paint remaining components. D. Rewire and reuse existing mechanical parts. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. HVACR and air support component level restoration when contamination is limited and structural integrity is intact. Cleaning coils, housings, and electronics per standard protocol is both cost-effective and safe. A full replacement A is only required for critical failures. Painting C traps residue. Rewiring D is unnecessary and ignores contamination risks.